And good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Gears of Trust. I'm your host, Maynard T. Bear. And today I've got my guest, Sam Whit from BC, another major mechanic. And today's topic is going to be about the mechanics of a great team. I do, however, want to stop and thank everybody for following me. Right now, as of mid-February, my YouTube channel, 1,420 subscribers. TikTok, 1,900 subscribers, and another thing I measure is my Instagram at 1,014 followers. So, once again, thank you very much. Like, subscribe, share the snot out of it, and also click that notification bell so you get notified as soon as I get a new episode coming on. February is the launch month for my book, Onward Buttercups, and it's ironically about team building. So I'll be posting links to that on my personal pages. Right to Amazon. It'll be on Kindle, Amazon. There'll be ebooks, hard copies, and all the good stuff that makes books. Mm-hmm. That was 18 months in the making. So, Sam, I'm going to pass the mic over to you right now and have you introduce yourself and let everybody know about Sam Whit.
Hi, everyone. My name's Sam Whit. I met Maynard up at Fort McMurray there. We were working at the same site, Suncorp Base Mine. And I'm currently from Australia over here on a 3-year visa. So just getting around, doing all the Canadian things I can. Yeah, thanks for having us on your podcast there, Maynard. Yeah, I rang you up the other day for a bit of I remembered you were ex-Navy, like, I wouldn't mind talking to one of those good old boys, see how you're going. Because, you've been quite helpful. Like, you put us up for a night there when we needed somewhere to stay, and
Oh, that was pretty good. Just having you. I didn't have enough projects to keep you busy.
No, I do like checking out other people's projects.
Yeah, I got a project on go right now. I'm building a 5.3 LS for my white Avalanche, right? So that'll be a good time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I know you'd like that project. Eh?
I might have to come back just to check it out. Give you a hand.
There you go.
Can't have you having all the fun by yourself.
So what prompted you the other morning? So you're on response. I was on days off there, finishing up my foolishness just before I get back on shift. And you hit me up right out of the blue and then wanted to talk about teams and goodies like that. So what's that all about? Like,
I vaguely remember. I remember you doing something with teams, and like, I like to I like to hang out with older guys and draw on their life experience, and see how you've obviously lived a lot longer than me, and you've seen what works a lot more, and
seen different things, right? We all got our own journey.
Definitely.
We all see different things as far as that goes, eh?
Yeah, wow. And even just a different perspective. I think I was spending too much time alone in the cab there and just wanted someone to talk to.
You weren't listening to my podcast?
Oh, I probably should have been.
Yeah.
No, I've been really enjoying it. It's been good.
I was talking to a young lady around. I was talking to a young lady around Christmas, and she asked me if Debbie, my wife, listened to the podcast. And I looked right straight back in the eyes, and I said, "No, we've been together for 22 years." She figured I would have stopped talking by now. So, no kidding, eh? So, the first part of our conversation here I want to talk about is what makes a good team. Teams have been precious to me, and I'll tell you what motivated the book there, Sam. Anyway, is that right from the age of 12, I joined Army Cadets, and then from Army Cadets, I went to reserves as a vehicle technician. Then from reserves, I transferred into the Navy, regular force. And so from the first 10, 12 years of me in the workforce, I was just encapsulated in a team, in a military construct. And once I left the Navy, there's that big void where I used to have a team, that I always looked to for support and encouragement and motivation, and that wasn't there. And I struggled for quite a number of years on that front. That being said, you love teams too. So what do you think makes a good team, man?
Yeah, that might have been half the reason I was ringing you the other day, Maynard. Just probably missing the team environment and like, this guy likes teams. I like teams. We should talk about teams.
Yeah. And here we are, eh?
Yeah.
So putting together a good team. What do you feel? What do you think's a good thing that? What makes a good team? What makes a good team? What makes a shit team? What do you think?
I think you'd have to agree communication's the top of the list. Whether it being how to do your how to get the goal done, do your job, or even just looking out for your teammates. Like we've all done night shifts and long shifts,
Yeah.
and sometimes you look over at your teammate and he's a bit tired, or he might have something mentally weighing him down from his home life, and sometimes you just got to give people a little bit of slack, and you know we're
Yeah.
really there to look after each other.
So as a team member, you have a lot of empathy. You're that compassionate team member. You're not the hard ass that says I don't care if we can do it
I'm
anyway.
not super hard ass, but I like efficiency.
Well, that's kind of so you're not a hard ass, but you like efficiency.
I like efficiency, and I'll drag you there.
Okay, so well, that's a good way to put it. I know you love working. You
I do love
together,
working.
right?
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So what do you get out of that? Like, what motivates you to work like that?
I don't know. I really I did 5 years in the fire service as an auxiliary firefighter.
Yeah,
I also had a day job, so my biggest drive is giving back to the community, and the fire service I was with, we're always running charitable events, doing school visits, doing awareness campaigns. You go to a high school, you're talking to high school kids about, the dangers of drink driving and, crashing cars and stuff, because you get to see your fair share of accidents and people that are pretty messed up.
yeah.
So, yeah. I did feel like I had I don't know. I miss the fire service a lot. It's just a good group of guys. You're working under high stress conditions. It
So
probably.
you had something that challenged you both physically and mentally, right?
Oh yeah. So we will train for a lot of these scenarios, and until
Yeah,
you turn up to those scenarios, you literally go into shock if you're not used to seeing what's actually going on. You forget
yeah,
all your training. Um, and you literally got to snap yourself out of it, and you're like, because you've trained so much for it, you got to literally what's your subconscious knee jerk reaction? What am I trained to do here? I'd imagine
yeah,
they'd probably prepare you in the Navy for that as well. I'd imagine.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Quite a bit. Practice, 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 and more
yeah,
practice. You're always pretending you're at war, right? And always pretending you
yeah.
have a fire, and always pretend you have a man overboard, and always pretend you have an attack, and always pretend. After a while, you just practice so much you want to get in there and just do it, right?
Because that's what I find. Like a lot of the firefighters were from mine rescue,
Yeah,
and they were like, "Oh, we're doing all this training at mine rescue," and they got to do some pretty cool training, and
yeah,
they love the fire service because now you're actually doing a lot of stuff for real.
yeah,
You don't always get that exposure with mine rescue unless you're working on a really bad mine site where people are hurting each other all the
yeah,
time.
yeah, a lot, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's not really a fun way to get excitement, man. I've seen that route.
So
That's not a fun way to do it. But
yeah,
you thrive on that. So as a team player, what you call it, you're what I call an A personality. There's actually 16 different types of personalities that make up a team with a bunch of cross characteristics is a good way to say that. Um,
yep,
so you are a high performer. You're a social butterfly, and you have great empathy, right? So, and I've noticed that from just being around you. So when you get a team player that can't get to your level, who's more lethargic, is that a good way to say it?
what's that?
And
Sorry.
when you get a team player, and you see, so you're an A player, right? You're an A player with a great, so you're highly motivated, you're dedicated to what you do, you put 100% into it all the time, but you have great empathy for others, right? So you're more compassionate against towards a guy that doesn't do as much as you do. Does that make sense?
Yep.
That being said, when you get a member on your team and he's a bit of a dogger, what do you do? Like, how does that affect you in the team?
I try to encourage them as much as I can. I
Yeah.
like to think of myself as like, hey, upper management, like we can put whoever with Sam and he gets the best out of them. He passes on his knowledge to them. He tries to motivate them as much as he can.
So you don't
Just
carry that guy.
I like to see. I
You
like to
don't
see
carry
the
that
best
guy. Eh?
version of people I can find.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
How's
like
that
to.
work? How's that work for you so far?
Some Okay, I've got this. So I work quite a fair bit with a lot of introverts down here. And normally
Really?
by probably the end of the second day, I've got them talking to me pretty well. And
Oh,
these are
really?
people that
Eh?
don't like talking. And I
Wow.
kind of just poke them in a fun way all like for 2 days. And
Yeah.
most people give in after 2 days.
Yeah. So you figured in 2 days you can break down just about anybody. Is that what you're saying, or what?
In
Yeah.
a fun way that they sort of like, they kind of get where I'm coming from.
Yeah. That's real.
So,
That's real.
yeah.
So
I sort of tied in with a little bit of banter, and yeah, I've worked with some really good guys over the years.
yeah. Have you ever worked with
Yeah,
any funny, any guys who just make you wonder, like, what were you thinking?
yeah, probably what you were thinking, but like going back to like, you, where did I write that down?
Well,
I did write
where
some notes because I'll say a lot of things one off time, and then I just don't remember them.
oh yeah, yeah, fair enough.
So, yeah, where'd we go? Yeah, so like my sort of thing is like if you're a bit lazy, you got to be smart, and you can still carry the team, especially in like mining.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're a bit lazy and dumb, you better be hilarious because you're not always contributing.
So do you class me as hilarious, Sam?
Well, I'm just saying, like you do those bigger shut days, and you're out there on a
Yeah,
Sunday morning or a Sunday night shift, and I like to call them mascots. They're just,
mascot.
they're people that,
Yeah,
they're probably a little bit lazy. They're probably not so smart, but they just make your day. They're just hilarious to hang out with, and I feel like that that really builds a team because you've done it yourself. You're working in some pretty miserable conditions, and you
yeah,
got some of those people that can just make you laugh.
yeah,
Speaking of people that can make you laugh in miserable conditions, my
yeah.
old fire captain Logan, I've seen people with 2 broken legs laughing at his jokes.
Oh, really? see,
Yeah,
you're
like
you're on the verge of your
they'd be
team.
so messed up, and this the stuff he would say. Like, put it
Yeah,
this way, he's ex-Navy, just like you. He joined
yeah,
the
yeah,
Navy when he was 16. He went
yeah,
straight in to be a medic,
yeah.
and I can't remember. I think he did 15 years in the Navy. I'd have to double check with him, but and then
The
he
long
got
haul.
out.
Yeah, yeah.
He's a very much a people person, leads by example, and just hilarious to work with. Like,
Those are the fun guys. Those are the fun guys to follow too. I
yeah,
like having those guys that are just full of like laughs and just nonstop, right? And just go. I'm much the same as what you are, right? In that regards.
yep,
Have you ever
yeah.
have you ever
Like,
worked? Oh, you go.
oh, sorry. Yeah. So even though he's like quite hilarious and he can make people laugh, he's got a very serious side to himself, and he's quite passionate about leading teams.
Yeah,
And he,
yeah,
definitely sets the example. Like when I was working with him, he was a full-time paramedic, and then he's the same
yeah,
as me. He's on the fire crew. You got your full-time job. Your pager goes off. You might be at your full-time job. You go to a fire call. We probably averaged about 280 calls a year. We were a fairly
wow,
busy station.
yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. So sometimes you get multiple calls a day. And some of these calls, they could be anywhere from like a quick call is you're back at the station within an hour, which, normally is about an hour, a little bit over an hour. And then
Yeah,
sometimes you'd be out for 4, 8 hours, Like
Yeah,
it does
on
definitely.
bigger scenes, eh?
Yeah, sometimes you'd even have to drive to the surrounding towns to like cover for them while their fire crews, go handle something.
I've got a dog at my feet wanting to play with a ball, so I'm going to throw. Yeah, here we go. It's part of real live podcast, people. Yeah,
I like how you got the dynamics happening there. It's just Debbie
yeah,
behind the camera. You don't even have a dog.
yeah, yeah. I'll let her know that. So, have you ever been saddened by like a team that you're on that kind of fell apart? Have you ever been in that type of scenario, or have you always been on winning teams, or what's your personal history with that, Sam?
Yeah, I've definitely worked on some teams where, it hasn't quite flowed. We've always got the job done in one aspect or another.
Yeah,
Got the sun shining in now. Just a bit. I'll just close this window.
yeah. You go ahead and do that, man. Go ahead and close the blind. I can't believe it. I got a dog here wanting to play ball halfway through a podcast. How does that work, right?
Oh, that's all right. I'm closing windows over there, and
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a little white one. You met a white guy? Yeah,
yeah. He's a bit of a cutie.
he's just his thing is the ball, right? He lives for that
Yeah.
ball, right? Nice thing he's getting older and fatter, so about 3 or 4 good throws, he's panting for a while there and leaving me alone. So back to actual teams. So you've been on teams that were good, had a lot of fun with.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about your bad experiences with teams.
I haven't had any overly bad experiences. It's very different being in the fire service on a team to being in
Yeah,
mining on a team.
yeah,
I'd probably like a high stress environment. Like, you're dealing with people's lives, people, are trapped
yeah,
in vehicles and that. And yeah.
yeah. Pretty sad scenarios,
Oh,
eh?
the worst feeling would probably be going to a house fire and there's a missing person. Like
Yeah,
that, honestly, it just, oh my God, that
it's pretty
feeling is horrible.
helpless feeling, isn't it?
Oh,
Pretty
you
helpless
just
feeling.
don't know if you're going to find them alive or dead or what condition you're going to find them in. And
Yeah.
yeah. Like my first fatality messed me up for like 2 weeks straight. Like
Oh, did
that
it
is
really, eh?
honest. Oh, like I'd seen like, you go to open caskets and stuff for family members and that, but
Yeah,
it's not until you've seen someone just splattered out on the road that, it just messes you up for 2 weeks.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. So I
So
do have,
with your fire brigade, Sam, did they have a debriefing mechanisms for
yeah,
situations like that
we'd
or
go
what?
back as a station a lot of the time if it was pretty horrific and we'd debrief what's
Yeah,
going on. And I think that's
yeah,
really good. It really builds some strong bonds when you as a crew are literally talking with all your fellow buddies, like, just what you've experienced. Probably,
yeah,
probably more so. I think it's more the collective coming together and you're a team. It's a very particular bond that you sort of know what everyone else is feeling.
yeah,
And it's such a traumatic experience.
yeah.
So moving a little bit on from that, like my second fatality I had encountered, the guy literally died in my arms. I literally saw his life disappear. Like I had my
Wow.
arms underneath him, and his face
Yeah,
was like right there, and you can
yeah,
just see the life just get sucked out of him. And we've tidied up the scene. This was like a heart attack on a train.
yeah,
And one of those times you get to do CPR for real. It's at the town train station. The doctors
yeah,
at the hospital didn't have a whole lot going on that day, so we had the paramedics there. And the first thing you do when you're like doing CPR and stuff is get them in a bigger environment. If they're in
yeah,
a toilet cubicle or they're on a train, you want to get them off. You want as much room around them as you possibly can, because if
yeah,
stuff goes wrong, you've got a whole
yeah.
heap going
You'll have
on.
a whole pit crew in on top of that person. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And this guy had probably the best chance. Like the hospital's just up the road. They weren't real busy. We had 6 doctors down there. So that he
Wow.
got every drug. Like, so the paramedics can only give you so much, and then these
Yep.
doctors have got even cooler drugs.
Yeah.
So yeah, we
So
definitely.
did he make it? Did he make it then, or
He
did you
didn't
lose
make
him?
it. No, he pretty much died on the train, and then you go into like response.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he was a big boy. He probably would have been a good, probably a good 350 pounds or something.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a bigger mechanical issue with his heart in behind the scenes there that.
Yeah. I don't. You know how you as a mechanic, you can look
Yeah.
at something and you already know the outcome.
Yeah.
So paramedics can do the same thing. Like one of the older, more experienced paramedics, he probably would have been in his late 50s. He's got a bull neck. He's not going to make it.
Yeah. Yeah. He's
Like,
not
like
gonna make
guys
it.
with fatter necks, like it's so
Yeah.
hard because one of the first things you do with CPR is make sure their airways are clear.
Airway. Yep.
And it's
ABC.
really
Yep.
hard to have a clear airway, like like trying to, yeah.
Yeah.
You're doing CPR.
I had a heart attack 2000 Labor Day 2005. What's called up in the workplace up where the truck build used to be in that industrial park there. And after that little bit there, then I joined Ski Patrol. So I was Ski Patrol here in Fort McMurray for 4 years. So I did a lot of trauma intervention and stuff like that. And all that training. So I know where you're going with. But ironically, so what you did with that debrief in that high stress situation in that environment, basically that's how you build a military team. I've done a lot of research into team building and stuff here, and that comes true in my book. If once you start reading it, you're gonna say, "Oh, fuck, that makes sense." But what we do in the military to build a team is we take everybody from every walk of life and we bring them together as a group, and we leave them socialize for a day or two, and then we cut their hair all off so they don't even know what your roommate looks like, right? and then you take those people and you break them down mentally.
Yep.
You demoralize them, and then you put them through hell and through challenges and torment so they fuse as a group. And the only way they can get through that basic training is to come together as a team. So when you look at Navy SEAL training, that's to the next level, or divers training or whatever. So you also always have that crucifix that you have to carry that punishment that brings you together more as a team. Once that occurs, you'll probably notice now that any team you've ever been on since the fire brigade, the camaraderie and the friendship and the automatic understanding of each other isn't at that same level with it. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
So
and
when
you'd also find too, like you meet other guys in the Navy that aren't off your crew, but you just have that bond with them, even though you've never worked with them.
Absolutely, yeah. So when so you're in Fire Brigade NAS, if you jumped into Fire Brigade in Fort McMurray or in Tumbler Ridge or whatever, as soon as you'd be in there, you'd be at home.
Yeah.
The steering wheel might be on the wrong side of the fire truck, but at the end of the day, that commonality, that brotherhood you have in there, it's permanent.
Yeah.
I struggled when I got into the Navy. I struggled real hard for 10 or 15 years, Sam, trying to build a team, not understanding the mechanics of what really makes a good team. And that was the motivation to my book. It's been like 18 months of building this book. I thought it was going to be a slam dunk, and I remember I was on overtime one night riding around with Jeff, and I said, "I'm writing a fucking book." "Oh, yeah? How long is that going to take?" "Oh, I should never done it in a week or so." And then once you start to put it down on paper, you realize how much you don't really understand, and you go back and do more research and so forth. But yeah, that's one thing that I find very powerful, and you're similar to me in that regards, is that team environment.
Yep.
But the team environments we've been thrust into the oil sands, it's a different game. They're not firefighters. They're not Navy divers. They're not military people. That's a different mindset. So was the oil sands the first time you've ever been on like a mine maintenance team, as per se? Like the shovel crew, we got what, 20 guys in the shovel crew?
Team. Yeah, I've worked in other like outside team environments. It did, have its own sort of different challenges and that. But yeah. Yeah, I think that's.
What type of teams were those, Sam?
I probably would say they're probably a little bit disconnected. They probably didn't have that particular bond.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd understand. You get away from guys with that bond with you. You start to really miss it, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's your second consciousness, right?
Oh yeah.
You think of things, and it could be a technical solution that you're thinking of. You like to bounce it off the guys, or it could be a personal value that you want to talk about, or it might be a political issue. But the mindset in those teams is so unique, right? And what I noticed coming to the oil sands is that uh, the one commonality of all the teams I've seen over all the sites. So I've worked at Aurora, I worked at Syncrude Base, Suncor Base, Fort Hills, CNRL. I worked at Albion, so that's what's that?
Yeah.
Suncor, Fort Hills, Aurora, Albion, Syncrude, CNRL. Six different mine sites. One commonality that I found in every team is what? Their motivation. And their motivation is one thing. I'm here for the money, honey.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody, the top priority is me. So when you were on the fire brigade, what was your top priority?
Oh, just helping the community, looking
was
for
other
your work
people.
buddies.
Was
Like,
other
you've
people.
just gone through hell on a fire call, and now you've got a chance to catch up and see how everyone's doing, and yeah, it's quite social.
Yeah,
But
it is absolutely. But did you notice that when you went to the oil sands, everybody's talking about how much money they made, what they're buying, what they're
yeah, and
they
they did offer me.
They buy shit like quads and trucks to impress people that they don't even like, right? Just to
Yeah,
say I'm doing better than you, right? The
yeah,
only
yeah.
one time
I found I wasn't a really good fit out there.
the only one time I've ever seen oil sand workers come together is when? When do you think that would be?
Oh, when the unions talking about a pay rise or something.
Nope. Unions are all
No?
about me. Unions are all about me. They cry about what they don't have and not appreciative and
Yeah.
grateful of what they do. The only time I've ever seen Albertans, or I shouldn't say Albertans, oil sand workers come together is like fuck when I'm on vacation having a fucking wet in Huatuco, Mexico, and fucking met these guys from Fort Mac. Surprise, surprise, right? Disposable income down there drinking in the wintertime. Oh, you're from where? Oh, I'm from Fort Mac too, man. The bus ride sucks and this sucks. And all of a sudden, all the commonality comes out in that person. If I had been working with him 3 weeks earlier, he would have been sitting in the lunchroom saying, "Well, yeah, this sucks. I hate this, and I only made $240 last year, and it fucking bites." And but yeah, I noticed that about teams in the oil sands when you get right into it with them. Like very few fire where you find guys that are highly motivated and excited about fixing equipment, right? You're one of those guys. You like the technical challenge and you like the actual physical challenge of it. And I would say the predominant Mater guys do like that. And like I've said to our superiors, we've ruined a lot of good mechanics teaching them how to slow it down. Is that a good way to say it? Guess what I got to do? I just beckoned again. And
Is he catching it every time?
Pardon me?
Have you catch the ball every time you throw it?
I throw it down in the next level down in by the exercise area. So I'm up in my little studio here at the computer desk, and I'm throwing it down on one set of stairs. So that slows them down a little bit, but not much. Okay. I've got half an hour of throwing once we're done this. So leadership. How much? Let's talk about leaders of fucking teams. So how much does a leader affect a team?
Oh, so greatly. So I think I like to see the leaders as like proper hardworking people. They don't technically have to be the smartest person.
Yeah.
But I like when I lead a team, I like to pretty much like, in your planning stage, everyone gets a say, like pretty much just sort of manage the team. And I can't think of everything. I've got all these skilled guys I'm working with. Can we sort of manage it properly and come up with a good game plan?
Yeah.
Also, I've worked with a couple of good leaders in my time, and yeah, you're really in. Like, if you've got a leader and he outworks you, and you're just trying to keep up, like that's pretty motivating.
So tell me about the best leader you ever had, Sam.
I'd probably have to say Logan, my fire captain, being a
Yeah.
full-time paramedic, and then being on the fire truck as well. He was just like a real life action man.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
messed up
like an
people,
action
making
hero, eh?
smile. He's in a fire. He's in a like fireman gear, and he's telling the junior paramedics what to do. Honestly, if I was in a car accident, I want him there.
Yes, right,
Like,
eh?
leads by example. Like, you know, he doesn't just tell you what to do; he shows you what to do. So
Yeah.
one accident I went to, we had a truck roll over, and it was completely on its roof. It was a semi trailer. It had two trailers. It was carting
Yeah.
sand. Um, the driver is still in his seat. He's completely upside down. The cab roof is crushed in. Probably, he's probably only got about this much left. So like he's all
Yeah.
bent up in there. He's upside down, and you're like, how do you stabilize this so the vehicle can't roll on anyone else? How do we get him out? You know, and Logan's like, what you do, first thing you do is get down on your hands and knees, and you have a really good look. Stick your head in there, like
Let's
you
see
make
what's
sure the
going
vehicle's
on.
stable first. But
Yeah.
you get down there, you have a look at what he's looking at. If you can get your
Yeah.
head in there,
Yeah.
you talk to him. A lot of the probably one of the biggest thing with being in the fire service, you go to a car accident, is just trying to calm people down.
Yeah.
Probably one of the hardest things to do is when you've got, say, a child or something, or a loved one of someone else,
Yeah.
and they don't understand the process of what you're trying to do. So if
Yeah.
you've got a crush injury and it's been over 20 minutes, or you don't know how long that person's had a limb crushed, you can't
Yeah.
just pull the vehicle off them.
Yeah.
All that carbon monoxide that builds up in your limbs, that'll
Yeah.
give you an instant heart attack and kill you as soon as you release
Yeah.
them.
Clot
And
up and do you in
there's
pretty fast. Yeah.
there's nothing worse than, having a parent screaming at you, or I've seen plenty of grown men just in tears just because they're so beat up.
Yeah.
But you're trying to do what you can. You're trying to talk to people, calm them down is probably one of the biggest things. Sometimes, like, you'd be in the back of an ambulance and all you're doing, is holding someone's leg, because you break those bones. Your muscles are just like big elastic
Yeah.
bands.
Yeah.
You hold someone's leg for 2 hours just to give them some
You
relief.
keep traction on them, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I get back in again. So that's the best leader you ever worked with. So what about the worst leader? Have you had any really shit leaders?
um, I've had a couple that aren't real crash hot. I find them probably a little
Not
bit
crash hot.
disconnected. A bit disconnected.
Did they
I
even
really
care about
don't.
their people? Did they even care about their people?
Not
Have you ever?
really. You probably get people that when people aren't really worth their salt, and they spend a lot of their time just belittling other people instead of
Yeah,
building
yeah,
them
yeah,
up. I,
yeah,
I like to build people up and for them to become the best version of themselves that they possibly can.
yeah. So how do you deal with it when you get people trying to do just the opposite? Have you ever worked with another mechanic that's fucking I'm the king shit of Turd Island. I'm the best there ever was.
Yeah,
And you're just a loser and you can't keep up with me. And then the guy goes into action, fucks everything up. You get to fix it anyway.
I,
Yeah.
I'm probably one of those people. Like, I don't particularly mind working with people that other people don't like working with.
Yeah.
If they're abrasive or they're hard to deal with, I sort of see it as a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
And I don't know, probably just sort of like, hey, what you're doing's not really spot on. Like, I had one supervisor years ago, and he was a really good mechanic. And I think the problem was he was too good of a mechanic and no one was up to his standard.
Yeah.
We used to call them noodles because everything took 2 minutes.
Everything took 2 minutes, eh? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Like he was a fantastic. Like you working side by side with him, he'd be fine. But
Yeah.
then he did day shift only, so he'd be always whinging about night shift. Night shift didn't do enough, and you fair well know that you've been doing enough. And
Yeah.
it's a mindset environment. You're still kicking the goals, but
Yeah.
I ended up confronting him one day. Like you turn up here to work every day like someone shot your dog. No one
Yeah.
likes working with you.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
the operators don't like you.
Yeah.
Everyone on the floor doesn't like you. You're not off to a good start. Like you're gonna have to tone it back or sort yourself out. He ended up taking a bit of medication, and he was a totally different person after that.
Oh, really? Well, you had to
Yeah.
sedate him or what? You
I
had
don't know. They,
had a
they put him on some
tranquilizer
good
gun in
happy
your
drugs
service
or
truck. Hey,
something.
just give him. Hey, Sam, you had a tranquilizer gun in your service truck. You just threw a dart into him every now and then when you got out of
Yeah.
control, or what?
Yeah. Anyway, I'm a really firm believer. Like, you got a problem with someone that's sort of just between you and them. I like to talk to them first before you take it up the chain or.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you're freezing on me again, man. We're back into the freezing mode. Sam, he just he just froze. Okay, well, we're waiting for Sam to come back. I'm going to do a little bit of talking here anyway. So, anyway, really great podcast here with my buddy Sam. We have internet issues out in Tumblr, BC, right? He's working off of Starlink, and now he linked his PC to his phone to use his phone as network, and we hit a stumble block. So, where we're just talking, Sam and I were speaking about team members that are the A players. Traditionally, when you're constructing a team, oh, he popped out. He'll log back in. Traditionally, when you're constructing a team and you have those A players, those guys that can fix things, they're out of the truck, they're doing things, they're bang, bang, bang. They are double-edged sword. They're a curse and a blessing all in one because, as Sam had referred to, that this guy felt nobody was at his standard. And when that occurs, what happens then is he alienates a team indirectly without even knowing it, right? Because those who don't have the ability that he does or that person does, what happens is people look inward. When they see problems, the first thing they do is they look inward. So if I see technician A, he's doing this really, really good, how come I can't do that like technician A? So that in itself can be quite a little problem. So be mindful when you're in the teams. One good philosophy that I express to guys and teammates all the time is that we have 10 people on a team, and everybody has different ability levels. Everybody has different skill levels. You might have one guy that's really good at mechanical, one guy's good at hydraulic, and one guy's really good at swinging a hammer 20 pounds over his head. You might have another guy that loves it outside at minus 40. You might have the next guy that loves it at plus 40. So as a leader, one of the things I look for in a good leader is he is a person that can get to know his team, identify their strengths, identify their weaknesses, and bring the best whatever person has. So if you have a team member that's good at that 20-pound hammer, don't get him sorting out all your parts. He's probably not going to be really good at that. And he's not going to get a lot of job satisfaction out of it either. If he's challenged physically and that's what he responds to, enable him to do that. But once you get 10 guys that can do 10 different things, guess what? You'll have a team that can do a multiple of things. So if a guy's strong at breaking bolts or doing undercarriage, leave that guy lead the charge on that project. If you have another guy that's really good at hydraulics, leave him lead the charge on the hydraulic project. And you'll see that your team becomes substantially more satisfied. They feel more rewarded in what they do. And the next great thing about that is it makes it a lot more easy to manage. Primarily, my belief of what a leader should be doing for his team is breaking down barriers. So if I have a team, they can't achieve what they're doing or they want to do, you need to break down any barriers they might have. That barrier might be a time barrier, might be a training barrier, might be a materials barrier, might be an income barrier. If your team is stressed over wages and providing bread at home, usually their mindset's not on what they're doing. So as a leader, you have to be a servant more so. Oh, there's my buddy Sam texting again. As a leader, you have to be more of a servant than anything else. Let's see if he's going to jump back in. Have to be more of a servant than you are a boss. If you get a leader that's a boss as opposed to being a servant, that's where things usually start to go bad. I've worked with guys that, as leaders, what they do is they just focus. They focus and they focus on being the boss. They focus on their corporate success. There's two ways to get ahead in the world, and I've said this so many times over the years. You can A, get ahead by helping others and have them push you upwards, or you can get ahead by pulling other people backwards. Other than that, there's not too many ways to get ahead. Okay, Sammy? You still know Sammy, right? He must have real garbage internet in Tumblr. Yeah, so that's kind of cool. So that's my kind of spin on my personal belief on that. And I've over 50 years in the workforce, I've experienced. Hey, Sam's back. Let's head him to the stage. Over 50 years in the workforce, I personally have experienced just about every abstract of leadership you can see. I've had leaders that just demonize people on a person. I tell you what, I had a supervisor. I was a middle management at CNRL Horizon. Applied for a general foreman's position, was next level up in the chain, and that would be looking after the department. Another guy got that job, and he became my boss. Now, there's a lot of this stuff going on, and he would demonize people. That was his forte. He would demonize people that he didn't like and find ways to get rid of him. Ironically, he had others like him, and that department, after 6 years, has actually imploded. There's no more shovel department in this mine, if you can imagine that. They have a couple of response guys on the mechanical crew in the truck shop. They go and fix shovels. When the shovels break down, and they use contractors to fix their shovels. So they basically imploded with this internal hate. But this general foreman was so maniacal and hateful that we had a technical service rep from the manufacturer, Troy Global at the time, or Komatsu, or P&H, or whatever you want to call him. He would come to site. Buddy was on site, and he'd come to my office when we were talking about technical issues, one of the shovel and the general foreman, my buddy Tony. He saw this guy in my office, and Sean left. Tony came in my office. He said, "What was he doing here?" I said, "Well, he came in and had a question about this, and give me technical specs on it." He says, "I don't want that guy on the site." That's what's that all about. He says, "When we grew up as kids in blah, 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 Newfoundland, he used to make fun of me on the bus." So if you can imagine this general foreman's making like $300,000 a year. He's mid to late 40s, and he doesn't want this guy on his mine site because he made fun of him on a bus when he was like 9, 10 years old, if you can believe it. That is not a good leader, right? And that's that type of leader that I talk about in my book, that focuses on themselves, not on their team. And being a team leader or supervisor at any level, frontline supervisor is the hardest way to go because you're responsible to upstairs and downstairs and everything in between. Things go wrong and people get hurt with Bill C-45 federal legislation. You wind up getting your ass thrown in jail, and management's the first one to throw you under the bus. Second thing is you have to look after your team, so you're always in conflict with management because management's about saving money, not about making people's lives better. So, real tough role to get into. But buddy Sam, you made her back, pal.
Yeah, you can hear me all right, Maynard?
Fuck, deadly. What happened to you? You get hit by an asteroid or what?
Oh, I don't know. The computer just... I'm on the phone now.
There you go. Oh, local and going. Well, that's it. I got a real good reception now. Take some crap. I just kept talking. That's what I do. I'm married for 22 years. I just keep talking. She usually comes back. So I was just in your absence. I was just talking about what makes a good leader, bad leader, and all that good stuff. So cool. So what makes in your perspective? What do you think? So I was just talking about bad leaders and give us some
Yeah,
anecdotal stories
I just
there.
picked up the back end of your story about making fun of him on the bus. Years ago, I worked with one guy. He wasn't on my crew, but we had two crews going, and they just had two people in each crew. So we
Yeah.
had like day shift, night shift, and two of the crew members on the opposite crew didn't get along, so they thought they'd like split them up a bit.
Yeah.
And one of them's a bit of a bully, and I really don't like him because we had like a split shift going where you'd probably spend 4 hours with all of us there. So you'd have guys coming in early, two guys would
Yeah.
come in early, and then you'd have a 4 hour overlap with the other two guys, and then they do like an afternoon shift.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of them was a bit of a bully, and I didn't particularly like him, but yeah, given the option of, going on crew, like, I'd rather keep your, bullies close.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
actually chose him to be on my crew.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I find they do a little bit less damage to you emotionally. Like I like sort of being up there, and I'd call him out on it. Like
Yeah.
it was just like he didn't know. He's one of those people. He was quite smart. He didn't know any other industry, but I just sort of. He's the only person I've thrown an 1.5 inch wrench at.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. He must have got you pretty twisted, eh?
Like with intent to like knock him out with it. I threw it at him from about 10 meters away,
Did you hit
meaning
him?
to hit him.
Did you hit him though?
I used to be pretty depressed there. Like, you know how you're just so depressed and you're just over it.
Yeah, but did you hit him with a wrench?
I didn't hit him, but I'm glad I didn't looking back on it. But he was just one of those people. He just knew how to push people's buttons, and he just wouldn't let up until you snapped.
Yeah. I've
So
worked
I was
I've worked
pretty,
with guys
I
like
was
that.
pretty young at the time, but I definitely wouldn't do that now.
No, I got in situations like that. It's similar to that. Got into it with one guy, and the guy I worked with was Leo Roberts, and he was just like my ex-wife. He wasn't happy unless he was unhappy. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, one of those guys. He could always find a problem for any solution, right? Any solution you had, he could always find a problem for it. He's one of those guys.
oh
Right?
definitely.
Yeah, and when he come around, he belittle guys on the team, and guys have certain strength levels. Some guys are more dominant than other guys, and he was a natural predator. He loves to hunt, and he's a really good hunter, really good technician. He was just too powerful. And anybody, like we talked about earlier in the podcast here, that wasn't at his level, he looked down on. He looked on very quickly, and he was quick to verbalize that too. So a verbal onslaught was quick to come out of his mouth, but he wasn't sophisticated in his dialogue. Does that make sense? He was pretty fucking blunt and crude. So, and he was quite a bit larger than I am. And he tried to slice into me, and I cut him up fucking ribbons with fucking 4-syllable words, right? We just fucking drove him even twice as bad, right? So, and then he'd get mad, he'd start to stutter, and I go, pronounce it, eh? Yeah, we had a lot of encounters over the years and stuff like that. Then he moved on down the road, but he was poison to a team. He was just poison. Nobody, like you said earlier, some team members, nobody wanted to work with a guy. Hey, good mechanic, hard worker who was not lazy, but yeah, just not a fun guy to work with any point.
Yeah.
That's why you see now with when you see interviews, and it's all behavioral based interviews. You ever notice that? You've ever done an interview, and it's always
I've done a few like aptitude interviews.
Yep. Yeah, that's what they're looking for. It's more important to get a team player than it is to get someone that's technically supreme, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
supreme.
you're pretty much describing the guy that I really didn't like, and I found it, just easier to keep him close than have him on the other team.
Yeah, is
Yeah.
in the
There's, he'd go out of his way just to fuck your day up.
Yep, and he wasn't happy until he fucked somebody's day up, right? And
You're describing exactly the same person.
yeah.
Oh, I don't know if
same person, different name, right?
Oh,
same person.
If it makes you feel any better, the person that I really didn't like, I quit that place, and then probably 2 years later, he ended up having a stroke and he can't speak at all now.
Wow, how ironic, eh? Well, karma come bite you or what?
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah, you know what I mean? Because what did that? High blood pressure, right?
No, maybe.
What causes a stroke or restriction of the vessel? A stroke is a heart attack in the head, right? So he's always running a high blood pressure, probably because he was agitated with everybody and everything around him. I know after my heart attack, Alberta Health Services, at that juncture in time when you had a heart attack, you had like a 3-day clinic post-heart attack about how to deal with stress, how to eat, how to, and what led you down that path. It's more of an educational format. And I got less worried about little things after my heart attack. Does that make sense? Like I changed my priorities. But that was through education. That wasn't through wisdom on my part by any stretch of the imagination. I was the guy that lived for the machine and loved to be the go-to guy. And I was doing what happened with my heart attack. I was doing natural gas compression up here in Fort McMurray. In the wintertime, we do engine overhaul because you can carry a big weight on ice roads. In the summertime, we go into helicopters, and then we just do breakdown stuff, response. But the response calls there is out in the bush for 40 kilometers by helicopter, and you get dropped off with your parts and your tools, and I'll see you at sunset. So a 14-hour day was the normality, and I look forward to 16 and 18-hour days for overtime. And over a period of 6 months, I had 3 days off. And I was running real hard, right? And enjoying it, loving it, because I just left going with tools and nothing, me, the bears, the mosquitoes, the bugs, and that was it. And Debbie said, you have to make up your mind, it's me or the bush, right? If you want to stay doing that, great, all power to you, but I'm going to move on. So I said, yeah, okay, you win. And so I left the natural gas game and I started at Leo Roberts. That was my first day working in a shop was August 27th. September the 1st, I had my heart attack. 4 days. Now, had that happened, had I stayed in the bush, at that time of year, what happens is the pilot drops you off at sunrise, basically, comes get you at sunset. Yeah, if I had that heart attack in the bush, I probably wouldn't be here talking to you today, my friend. Kind of wild how life gets to be. But yeah, we get those team members like that, and they're poisoned. But that being said, management, my years of 50 years in the workforce, I did a lot of courses. Another reason for my book. I did a lot of courses when I was 802 or other supervisor at Horizon. I did accident investigation, making you have a great supervisor, what they believe. Stephen Covey's 4 habits of a successful person. This, that, just a multitude of coursing for management, how to measure metrics, costing things, and all the business side of the business. At no point in time did I ever take a course on being a supervisor, how to work with people. Out of 50 years, the only course I took was a 3-day workshop when I was with Canadian Ski Patrol in Edmonton, and it was dealing with different generations of people, right? Because as a ski patrol, so same as you and your fire brigade, you're volunteers. So I had to learn what motivated people to do things for nothing, right? Because I could have an engineer on my ski patrol team. I could have a 18-year-old student. I could have a 20-year-old mechanic. I could have a waitress. Everybody wanted to be a ski patroller, but what was their own personal motivation? I learned a lot from that 3-day clinic on how to understand who I'm working with. Does that make sense? From that, it was just more and more and more and more learning. Sam, guess what, buddy? You've frozen up now. Yeah, there you go. You're back. But yeah, that's another motivation to the book is to help explain those types of people. So we're talking about the same guy that we had that wasn't happy unless he was unhappy. I had him at places I worked. you had them at places you worked. You know what? You're going to see that guy again with a different name. That being said, another thing I'm trying to build in the background, it seems to be more complex than what I thought, is I'm trying to build an app for new people or anybody that wants to learn about their coworker in the workplace. I'll call it "Which Ass Is This?" Right? And basically, what I want the working to this app to do is to take 4 characteristics of a person, a coworker I'm working with, put it into the app, and it'll come back with the type of person that person is. So then, because there's only 16 different personality types, right? So if I take 4, so, but the mechanics of making that work behind an app's a totally different game. That's something I'm learning, but that's in succession of things that I'm doing right now. I've still got a book I'm just launching. Course website will be after that. Public speaking after that, and then the app will be the last thing. But with that being said, I noticed that just my time with you, the short little time we had together there, is that you're the guy that's very empathetic, you care about other people, and you enjoy doing things. And that's a very admirable trait within a team. But you're going to go far in this industry, and you're going to be one of those leaders. I'll tell you right now, Sam, that guys are going to say, "Fuck, I worked with Sam. He was some fucking good leader. He did this, he did that." So the way you speak with fondness of your brigade captain, you will be that leader. I'll tell you right now. Some guys have got it, some guys don't. You have a love of life, you have a love of people, man. That's a big blessing. It's fucking amazing. So be proud of that. Be proud of that, young man. Cool.
Thanks, Maynard.
So, that being said, how do you want to do it? Would you like to do a fast round with me?
Yeah. If you can speak up nice and loud. I haven't got heaps of volume coming out of my phone, but
okay.
We'll give it a go.
Okay, so let's go to the final segment of our podcast episode here, my friend. And we call it, it's a new thing I'm going to try. It's called speed round, right? I'm going to fire 4 questions at you. You just answer with whatever comes to mind, right? Worst trait in any teammate. Okay, question number 1. What is the worst trait in any teammate you have ever worked with? Worst trait.
I'd probably have to say mental laziness.
Mental laziness. Okay, cool.
Like mental laziness?
Yeah. Mental laziness. Yeah, the guys just don't give a fuck, right?
So, like, you probably, I can elaborate a little bit more, but, like, there's some people that are smart. There's also people that are mentally lazy. They're not looking outside the box.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So they're just restricting themselves. Okay, cool. Fair enough. Speed question number 2. What's the best way to motivate a struggling crew? A crew that's having problems.
The right kind of banter, like just a bit of, jabbing at each other, but like inclusive, have everyone being inclusive. And I used to like cook a lot of meals for like my work buddies. I used to spend all of my leading hand bonus to feed my work buddies.
Yes, sir.
And I didn't care if no one ever reciprocated the favor because I did it because I loved it.
Big difference there, eh? Not looking for anything in return, just giving soul, right?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So, if you could give us one tip on leadership, what would that one tip be?
I think probably being able to read your guys on your crew, sort of like get a bit of an idea where they're at. I like dot point communication. Like, if you're telling someone what to do, you summarize it into dot points. And then to reaffirm that they understand it, I like to ask them questions on it.
Oh.
So you can ask someone a question and then they give you back an answer, and then you can understand if they've understood everything you've said.
Fair enough.
It's more for the technicality sort of jobs and stuff.
Side the street, eh? So that'd be your number 1 leadership tip. Deadly. Okay, so dream team. What's your fucking number 1 dream team? What would that be made of? 3 qualities that every person on your team would have. So if you had to say, I got a team, I got 10 guys, and I want them to have 3 specific qualities. What are those 3 qualities going to be?
I'd probably say drive, grit, just sort of a bit of selflessness for the team and just thinking outside the box. and not afraid to speak up. Like, you've got a good idea. Like, let's let everyone hear it. Let's vote on it as a team.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm all about, like, if someone's got a better idea, let's do it that way. I'm all about efficiency and
Oh, there you go.
doing it safely, safe and efficient way.
Don't get anybody busted up, eh?
Yeah,
So,
and for anyone that's worked with me before, like, if you're doing something that's a little bit quite hazardous, you'd probably hear me like, hey, just, watch your fingers, watch where you're standing, you're in the line of fire. Like, I really look out for other guys because firsthand, I've seen some pretty messed up people, and I don't want to see that again today, especially guys I care about.
Yeah. Yeah, it's harder even when you know them, right?
Yeah.
It's deadly. Absolutely. Oh, cool. Well, that's it for your quick fire questions, buddy. Excellent. Cool. Well, that brings our podcast to an end here for today. So, Sammy, I'm going to have to ask you to stay back on the line as I download all this stuff off the cloud. And then we'll have some extracurricular discussion by all means. Once again, thanks for tuning in to the Gears of Trust podcast. My host is my name is Maynard Rivera, your host, and my guest, Sam Whit. Thanks so much for giving me your time, Sam. We'll get this thing all downloaded. Looking forward to seeing everybody again. Once again, like, subscribe, hit notifications, and then share the snot right out of her, folks. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us, Maynard.
All right. Thanks for being on, Sam. Greatly appreciated, my friend.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.